So you are a king, meaning that you are relevant to this earth, you are relevant to this country, you have a role to play in this country, and you are a priest, which means that you have much more than physical power. Those who are just kings only have constituted authority. Those who are just kings, if they are not given any position, if they are not given any political role, if they don't become ambassadors, they may think that they don't have any authority. But some of them also know that beyond political influence, there are other spheres of influences where you can change things. And the more important one is the spiritual influence which you have as a Christian. So let's not forget, let's not undermine our spiritual influence and the role it plays in influencing the nations. So the first thing I wrote here is that there are 5 ways a nation, there are 5 things that build a nation. There are 5 things that build a nation. I'm going to pick them one after the other and also share a few things with you. Number 1 is the brand. The brand is the first thing that builds a nation. You must understand that whenever you hear about a country, whenever you hear about a nation anywhere in the world, the first thing that comes to your mind is the things you have heard about that nation. Or if you've never heard about that nation before, the next thing is that you're likely going to go on the internet and start asking questions about that nation. When you then start asking questions, or when you search, the first few things that come up on the internet will begin to form your opinion of that nation. So when we talk about the brand, there is the name of the nation, there is the perception of the nation, there is what comes to mind when people hear about that nation, there is things that pop up when we look, when people look us up on the internet. There is the culture of the people. It pops up under the brand of the nation. There is also hospitality. One of the things that we are known for as Nigerians, for example, is hospitality. People say from time to time when you watch videos of foreigners, they say, oh, Nigerians are very hospitable, the food is good, this is that, this is nice, they're all smiling, they are very warm, they are very receptive, and we are like that to foreigners. Question remains if we are like that to ourselves, and I'll still get to that part, but we are like that to foreigners. Then there's also the unique sites all over the country. You come to the southwest, there's your Lumo Rock, there you go all the way to Ekiti, there's the Kogosi Warm Spring. They tell you there's a part, or there's rivers meeting, and one part is cold, one part is hot, and it is always hot without being heated up. And then they'll tell you that, you see all sorts, you see all kinds of hills. You go to Ondo State, you go to Ekiti, you see all kinds of them. You go to Abeokuta, you see all kinds of hills or rocks all over the place. You go to the north, you go to Bauchi, for example, there is the Reserve, there's the Yankari, then you go to the east, so many things that we have to show. But you see, we have not maximized our brand enough. That's something we're going to talk about later. But you look at another nation, a nation like America, a nation like Britain or the United Kingdom as a whole, which is a combination of 4 nations. You go to other countries of the world, you realize that when you watch them on the media, when you watch international news, the only thing that you see that is projected about all these nations are the good things about those nations. How many of you know that? But when you watch news about Nigeria, most times when it goes viral, it's something negative. Unfortunately, you and I and the media in Nigeria don't understand. We think that we detest our leaders. We think that we have some kind of passion, some kind of hatred for them. We think we are speaking up. But do you know that the America that so many people are craving to go for, every weekend there's a school shooting happening in America? I hope you're aware of that. I hope you know. Do you know that more people die within America from gunshots by Americans compared to external threats or terrorism? Are you aware of that? But they don't show you that. They don't tell you that. I hope you know that it's not everybody in America that has a house or a roof over their heads. America goes all over the world giving people aids, telling you we're going to help you, we're going to do this for you, we're going to do that. But you travel to America, there are still homeless people on the streets. Everywhere in America, you still find homeless people. There are still thieves on the streets. In fact, somebody just returned from the United Kingdom recently, and the funny thing, I had read it just before this person came back from the UK, there is something that is rampant now, right on the streets of London in Oxford. If you are not careful with your phone, you know, as we say in Nigeria, Otilo. I mean, on the streets of London, somebody is riding on a fast bike and boom, your phone is gone. The kind of magic that happens in Computer Village or in Oshodi. But when was the last time your phone was snatched in Oshodi? But right now it's a rave in the United Kingdom. So because many people don't understand that brand is something that builds nations, the other nations of the world are consciously projecting the right brand for their nations, but we are unconsciously projecting the wrong brand for our nations. Listen, every time you consciously or unconsciously project the wrong brand about this nation, you are projecting yourself in negative light. Because many times when we do it, we think that we're doing it against the government. We think that we are spiting our leaders. But you see, those guys are only going to be there for 4 years. If they get another chance, maybe another 4 years. That's the maximum any of them will get in an executive office. The guys in legislature, nobody knows them. Nobody cares about them outside of this country. Only a few people recognize them. But the things you're constantly saying about your own country, you form an opinion, you form an image, you form a perception. You then decide if people outside of Nigeria want to deal with you or they don't want to deal with you. Do you understand what I'm talking about now? So it's important for us to be a little more conscious. Do we have the bad eggs amongst us? Every nation does. We also do. But the problem is we amplify the evils in our midst much more than the good in our midst. All of you will go online probably after this conference today, but I doubt anybody is going to talk about the young man who just painted somebody just now. But if all of you posted on your social media and tagged him and talked about how good he is, and the church social media posts it and talks about it, what do you think is going to happen to that young man? But the next thing you're going to go and talk about on social media is how the price of fuel has gone up, and you're not going to talk about somebody who is doing something right in your midst. And one way or the other, 100 people, COC, I believe that your population is nearly 1,000, if not more. But you see, imagine all of you coming to church tomorrow and all of you posting about that young man. What do you think will happen to him? But individually, all of you will go back home and post about the problems in the society. But you could have fixed something for one person here just by tweeting, posting, talking about it. How do you think things go viral? When we talk about virality, it's simply somebody generating a topic and a group of people or a cluster of people talking about it. Is that not what happens? Is that not how things go viral? So it's very important for us to choose. That's about the brand of the nation. Then the second thing is productivity. Productivity. Now, since I've just talked about the possibility of somebody's virality, the next is productivity. I hope you know that when they judge the nation, you know, how many of you have heard the word GDP before? You've heard the word GDP. Go and check. When they're talking about GDP and they say the GDP of Nigeria, the GDP of Africa, the GDP of this other country, the GDP of this place, that place, the GDP of Lagos State, what they are talking about is the collective productivity of all of us. Do you know what that means? For example, I do business, or you render service, or you have a job. My productivity, my assumed value, what I contribute to the economy, what you contribute, they add it up for all of us. That's how they estimate the GDP of every country. So if they say the GDP of Nigeria, for example, is 500 billion US dollars, that's what it was. I don't know if that's what it still is at some point. But let's say, okay, it's still 500 billion US dollars. Do you know that some people will say, oh, can you imagine? Rubbish government. Is that where we're supposed to be? Is that what we're supposed to be? Is that what we're supposed to be doing? How come it's still at this level? But do you know that the GDP isn't about the government? It's simply saying that all of us who classify or identify as Nigerians, all of us put together, this is the collective value of our productivity. But the GDP of a nation like America, for example, the last time I checked was over 19 trillion US dollars. Let me put things in perspective for you. Nigeria alone, there's something we're trying to do in Africa, And what we're trying to do in Africa right now, they call it Africa Continental Free Trade Area and the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. It's something that, like in the European Union, many of you know what is called the Schengen visa, right? Which means that you get the Schengen visa, you can travel to almost all 27 countries in Europe. From one country to the other, you can go by train, you can go by road. You don't need another visa to go from Paris, from Italy to Spain or to any other country in Europe. All you need is the Schengen visa. So what we have had in Africa so far is what we call the regional trade blocks. In West Africa, for example, we have what they call ECOWAS. In other countries, they have different names like that based on the region. Southern Africa have their own, Eastern Africa have their own, Northern Africa have their own. But we don't, even though we have the African Union, we don't have a common passport in Africa. We don't have a common currency in Africa. But you say Africa is bigger than Europe in terms of population and size. But our collective GDP in the whole of Africa is estimated to become $3.4 trillion. Now, let me put that in perspective for you. Apple. How many of you like Apple products? You like iPhone, you like MacBook and stuff like that. All right. Do you know that Apple alone, the value of Apple alone is $3.4 trillion? What did I say the estimated or the projected GDP of Africa is? 3.4 trillion. Projected GDP of the whole of Africa, not just Nigeria, the whole of Africa, 3.4 trillion. What's the GDP of Apple? 3.4 trillion. Microsoft, go online and check. The GDP of Microsoft is $3.4 trillion. So the implication is, if two companies wanted to buy the whole of Africa, and they sold only Apple and Microsoft, who are from the United States, those two companies will sell Africa, collect Africa, and still have change. You get my point now? Not Nigeria, the whole of Africa. Two companies. In fact, one of them alone is enough. But just to respect Africa a little, if we were to sell Africa to two companies in America, those two companies will buy Africa and collect change. Now, why am I saying this to you? Those companies, were they built by the government? Was Microsoft built by the government? Who built Microsoft? Bill Gates. Apple, was it built by the government? Who built Apple? Steve Jobs. The point I'm trying to make you understand is that you have a role to nation building via your individual productivity. The things that you do, if you do them well and build mega businesses and understand that everything you are doing on a daily basis, these things contribute to the growth of this country. These things contribute to the capacity or how this country is to be rated, then you take that business more seriously. Those guys, when they started out, they probably did not think that one day somebody is going to be comparing the GDP or the valuation of just two companies in America to the entire continent of Africa. Just two companies in America. And guess what? Nearly all the 5 or of all the 10 most valuable companies in the world, 10 most valuable companies in the world, at least we are sure that 8 of them are in America alone. But do you know the other disturbing part of it? Some of them have been built with the help, with the support, with the designs of blacks. Some of them Nigerians. But the same level of productivity that we're seeing in that continent, we are not seeing it here in this continent. We are seeing talented people go to waste. But why is it that talented people are going to waste in this country? One of them, I'll just shake the table a little and leave it because, some people would not like me after shaking that table, is that we would rather spend 7.5 million naira doing a wedding than supporting somebody who is a tech startup with 1.5 million. We would rather spend money buying Ashoebi than all of us contributing to give money to this guy who is a content creator who has just started, doing content. And you see that this guy is good. This guy is solid. He tells the story. Content is about storytelling, right? And you see that he has a unique way around the storytelling. We would rather buy Ashoebi, buy the latest gadget, buy the latest suit, buy the latest car, instead of all of us contributing maybe 10K, 20K, 50K, and all give to this guy and say, this guy must succeed. He must not fail on our watch. You know what they call crowdfunding? Everybody gives money. We are givers in Africa, but we give emotionally. We're givers in Africa, but we only give when somebody has proven that, oh, for example, somebody shows off online and say, I'm giving to this person. That's when all of us think it's right to give to that person. Then everybody follows suit. Just to show that you also give, you start asking for account details and you are giving. Guess what? You know the musician that posted online jokingly, he displayed his account details online. People who are suffering from poverty, that in fact is an insult to them to spell their poverty with the full letters of poor. They also contributed 200 naira, 300 naira. A rich man raised wealth off poor people. But your neighbor who needs like 10K to start a shoe business, you have it but you won't give it. You say, God will bring your help. God will help you. God will help you. But all he needs is for you to just order like 2 shoes from him. But you will not order. Your neighbor who sews, all you need is just to order 1 blazer from him. All you need is just to do what? Order 1 skirt from him. Or 1 peplum, how do you call it? Peplum, is it dress or skirt? Or, ask her to sew 1 pleated skirt. That kind of a thing. But you can do it. But you will not. So it's when you don't have money that you go to that your neighbor. But when you have money, you go to the designers. Our productivity, we need to understand that productivity builds nations. And if productivity builds nations, we need to take it seriously. The people around you, the things that be a part of somebody else's story. If you are not building something yourself, look at somebody else. Somebody who is doing, if you know somebody who is doing shoes, I hope you know that that's somebody's strategy that you can go and partner with. Somebody is doing shoes. You are a brand person. Go, listen, ask him to focus on his shoes. Tell him you will market it for him. Tell him, I will market the shoes for you. You know how to convince people to buy. Don't worry. Tell him, I will get you 5 people to order shoes from you. Start a business with this guy. Give him 50,000. Let him buy materials. Let him take pictures of the shoes. You put it on your WhatsApp. Do you know that you don't have to build anything? You can, what do you call business development, for example? Business development is simply bringing businesses to somebody who has something to do, something to offer. It's simply bringing business to the person or introducing businesses to somebody who has something doing. Somebody sews clothes. That person can be somewhere in a corner and not even be out there. But you can decide, okay, don't worry, you will sew all my clothes. I'm not going to take your name or anything, but I want to build a brand by myself. So you are going to be my tailor. I will create my label. All the clothes I take, I will come and sew them from you. I will pay you. You just sew for me. So you say, my name is Ara Designs. And then you put it out there and everybody is patronizing Ara Designs, Ara Designs. But Ara Design does not even know how to press the sewing machine. However, because you are smart up here, you partnered with a tailor who is smart, knows how to sew. As she's sewing, she's ironing so that it comes out really smooth, really neat. And the finishing of the tailor is smart, but you sew. But the bottom line is that you can contribute to the productivity of the country. And when you do that, guess what? People will rather pay Ara Designs, who doesn't know how to sew, 500,000 for a dress, than pay a tailor 35,000 for the same dress. He said, do you know what I'm wearing? He stand on the red carpet. I'm wearing Ara Designs. Ara Design is emptying your account. She's smiling to the bank, but it's still what? Ara Designs. So I said brand builds nations. So we need to be conscious about the brand of our nation and contribute to the positivity of our brand. Second thing is productivity. That is our individual productivity, which is why every one of us must be doing something. Then number 3, following the step of productivity, is innovation. Innovation. What innovations are we coming up with? Your brain is so fantastic, and you don't have to be somewhere else. You don't have to be outside this nation to think well. I hope you know that once Americans, once Britons, once guys even in France, even in Germany, once they see that there are Africans who are thinking exceptionally well, I hope you know they are snatching them. What do you think some of these universities are doing? They are employing, the same people that Nigerian universities will not give jobs, they are employing them as graduate assistants in different countries. Some of our celebrities here in Nigeria, in Nollywood, guess what they're doing now? They're going abroad. Within a few months, they're becoming professors. Why do you think that they're easily becoming professors over there? They have experience. They have years of work. There's something they can teach people. So they bring them up over there and tell them, come and teach our people. Come and show our people how to do these things. But in Nigeria, if you're not gradually approaching 60, if your hair is not gray, they don't want you to become professor. Except in private universities where you find young people becoming professors. But generally, the norm is that your hair must gradually become gray before you're called a professor. But America is taking all the young people. You see somebody who is 27 and says, I am Professor this. You see somebody who's not yet 30, he says he's a professor. And that's why I jokingly say to some people, I say if I was in America, there's no way I won't be a professor right now. I'm an author of 16 published books. That's the ones that are published too. Not the ones that are in queue. The ones that are in queue are more than the ones that are published. So it's very important. What are you innovating? These days, artificial intelligence is out there, and there are open source codes for them. Artificial intelligence is nothing to be afraid about. Actually, it is something for you to go and study and see how you can leverage it for your productivity. What is it? What are we going to do with it? How is it going to work for us? How is it going to work in our favor? Let me tell you a few ways I've been using artificial intelligence. Take, for example, I used to sit down and write the script of every book that I have written. I would manually I would sit down, spend hours on my computer, write all my books. But there are some books I'm currently working on, about 5 books at the same time. But guess what I'm doing? I am no longer sitting down physically to write them individually. What I am doing is I started recording some short videos. Even before everybody started doing podcasts, all these things, go and check my YouTube channel. And that reminds me, please check out my YouTube channel. It's at Fola Daniel Speaks. Check me out across social media. I'd like you to follow. Let's engage. I post videos every week. I post a new video, inspirational videos, something that you'll learn a lot from every week. Go and check out my videos. So what I now did was, number one, I sit down carefully. I come up with all my topics. And as I speak to you, I have more than 200 videos that are related to inspiration. So it just occurred to me, wait a minute, I could just use artificial intelligence to transcribe my videos from video or audio to text. So what I now do, instead of sitting down to write, is that I pick my video, upload it into the artificial intelligence app or website, and in less than 2 minutes, it transcribes my video to text. Once it transcribes my video to text, that is chapter 1. And then I take the next video, put it there, it transcribes for me, that is chapter 2. And then I take the next video, put it there, it transcribes for me, that is chapter 3. And guess what? In a single day, there was a time I sat down. Sometimes when I record my videos, I like to record in batches. There was a single day I recorded over 45 videos in a single day. My videos are like 5 to 6 minutes long, and I don't use scripts. So imagine I recorded 45 videos in a single day. How many chapters do you really have in most books? Sometimes maximum 10 chapters. Worst case scenario, if you want to overdo, let's say 15 chapters. So if I recorded 45 videos in a single day, let's say each book has 10 chapters. How many books have I written? Minimum of 4 books in one day. So right now, the way I use AI is that I record my videos, and after recording my videos, I use AI to transcribe. I only do some minor corrections because the way you talk is also different from the formality of writing. And sometimes when I pronounce some words in languages that AI does not understand, AI isn't that smart really. So, but the accuracy of the translation is more than 98%. For the English words. So I'm using it to write books. I'm using it to prepare curriculum. I'm using it to prepare trainings. So there are some other things that you can also use it to do. There's a way you can come up with innovations that helps with church management. You can come up with innovations that come with nation building. We can use this artificial intelligence for nation building. Not just for video editing that you're going to post on TikTok. There is more to AI than just posting on TikTok. Am I making sense? There's more to AI than just posting video on TikTok. There's more to AI than just having transcriptions on your screen and stuff like that. Now you can do business with somebody who is in China because of AI. Guess what? You make a phone call, you have a live transcription app, you are speaking your English. The person who is in China who doesn't understand English is hearing Mandarin. And the person is speaking Mandarin, you don't understand, you are just hearing yeah, yeah. But as the person is speaking it, what you're hearing is English. So there is more to it. And if you can go into data analytics, there's so much. There's so much. So our productivity needs to go up. The companies we build, let's focus on building companies. Let's come up with businesses. How we individually spend our time. Sorry, that's with innovation. Let's innovate for global relevance. When you innovate, don't think about Nigeria alone. Think about the world. Think about, it's the local innovations that makes your nation more relevant on the global scale of things. Did you hear what I said? It's the local innovation that makes your nation more relevant on the global scale of things. So it's very important for you to work on your innovation. There's another thing I will say on that innovation before I move on, and that's what we call circular economy. How many of you have heard about circular economy, or you know what it means? Just one person? Any other person? Wow. Okay, so let me explain it to you. Circular economy, if I explain it to you, you realize that it's something you already know. Okay, how many of you have heard about waste to wealth? You've heard about waste to wealth before. You've never heard about waste to wealth. I'm not talking about a company, I'm just speaking generally. You've heard about waste to wealth. Good. So the idea of what they call circular economy, it's a new buzzword. And what it's simply talking about is there's so many things that we're converting to waste. But instead of converting them to waste, we can take them, build businesses out of them, make them reusable. So use, reuse, instead of converting it to waste, change the form of that product so that we can still use it again. We're simply saying, change everything that you use instead of letting them go to waste. That's what we're talking. So somebody builds a bag out of pure water sachet. All the sachets that you see on the street, the same sachet that is littering the drainage system. Somebody takes all of that and converts it to a bag. She's building school bags. Now she has a company from just gathering pure water sachets, and she's building school bags out of them. Somebody else picks plastic bottles and is building something out of them. Somebody else picks tires and is building fancy furniture out of them. That's what we mean by circular economy. And they are making a lot of money. And guess what? Because they call them social impact, there are organizations who want to give them money. The organizations will give them money. If they fail, nobody is going to question them. They will encourage them. They say, oh, don't worry, you tried. Well, it didn't work out. Try again. And somebody is still going to give them money. You know why? Because people want to encourage the issue of reusing, recycling everything that we have. So even your clothes can be repurposed. So you no longer like the suit, you no longer like the jeans, you no longer like, for example, for the ladies as well, maybe when your jeans it started tearing, instead of you know that this jeans is torn. You now start using style to tell us that what you are wearing is ripped jeans. We know it's not ripped jeans. We know that it actually tore. It's not ripped jeans. But people convert it to all sort of things. I saw somebody converting jeans to a strap holder for a baby. The innovation. And one of the ways to innovate is circular economy. You go to a place in Ikorodu, you see all the vehicles, all the abandoned vehicles. You need to see what they are doing there. They are scrapping those vehicles, and it's a lot of money for those guys. They scrap them, they compress them, they use the iron and convert it to something else. Some of them become the chairs that you sit on, and so many other things. It's vehicles that are being converted. So we need to think, because your local innovation puts your nation on a global relevance scale. Then finally the people. Sorry, number 4 is the people. Not finally now. Number 4 is the people. As an individual, how you relate with other people, how you talk, the things people say about you, it determines how people think and what to expect of your nation. People don't know what to expect of Nigeria except for what they see us do online. People don't know what to expect of Nigeria except for when they meet with us and they hear us talk. How many of you realize that when you go to a bank and you meet one person in the bank, if any discussion comes up about the bank, the next thing that pops up in your head or in your mind is that person that you interacted with in the bank? Has it ever happened to you? So that person has become the brand of the bank in your mind. So if you had a nasty experience with that individual, if that fellow was rude to you, each time you hear the name of the bank, what rings in your ears is what? Rudeness. If the person was extra nice to you and you hear the name of the bank, what would you say? Oh, that bank, they are very nice. In fact, let's say, for example, your money was stranded in the ATM machine, your debit card was swallowed, and you walked into the bank, and all the staff of the bank contributed money and gave you so that you can go back home, and they asked you to come back the following day that they will resolve the matter. And you went back the following day and they resolved the matter. What would you say about the bank? Will you not start advertising the bank? Why? Even if the money is not much, the fact that all of them contributed money and gave to you, you say they are nice. But it's possible that the same bank has shown somebody else Shege Pro Max. Do you agree with me? But you are going to define that bank on the basis of your personal experience with them. That's what we're talking about. So whether you like it or not, foreigners are experiencing Nigeria through their interactions with you. Are you a person of integrity? Are you a person who just opens your mouth and just talks anyhow? Are you a person who projects value? Are you a person who speaks carefully on the internet? One of the things that we don't do carefully, which will then lead me to my final point in this regard, is the digital footprint. Point 5 is digital footprint. One of the things we don't pay attention to is our digital footprint on the internet. We just talk anyhow. We post anything. We post the worst of us instead of the best of us. We post the worst version of us instead of the better version of us. We talk about the worst of us online instead of the greatest of us online. And when you talk about the worst amongst us rather than the greatest amongst us, what do you think foreigners are going to think about us? When there is a bombing somewhere else, do you know that in the period when we used to have bombings in the northeast, some people assumed erroneously, and thanks to Nigerians, the way we projected it, the way we made it look like the bombing was happening all over Nigeria. You know, right? And so some people would give travel advisory against going to Nigeria completely, not realizing that the section of Nigeria where this is happening, it may never even touch them and they don't even have business there. But we made it worse. We said the government is not doing anything. They have failed on the issue of insecurity. Are people blowing up places in the Middle East or not? Are people blowing up places in Israel or not? Do they say that the government has failed? I told you earlier, somebody gets shot in America every weekend. Every weekend. A black person goes out in America, that person is not guaranteed to come back home. In the UK, somebody goes out for just being black or something, you are not guaranteed to come back home without being stabbed. You saw the young, foolish guy who went, I don't know what happened to him. He just went out and stabbed 2 little girls. And because of that alone, every black person for the next few weeks in the UK was in trouble. They were practically chasing people on the streets. In fact, somebody recorded a video of a white lady practically chasing her on the street. So we need to come to terms with what our digital footprints are. You know what we mean by digital footprints? The things you post online, the things you say online. Have you realized that for a couple of years now, when you're attending some job interviews, they ask for your social media handles? What do you think they want to do? You think they want to go and like your pictures? Okay. You think they want to go and like your pictures? No. They want to see if you've spoken against your previous company in the past. They want to see if you have had issues with them. They want to see how you have addressed them in the past. They want to see how you talk. They want to see your views online. Why do you think that you are even applying to embassies? Embassies are asking about your social media handles. Embassies. Why do you think they need your social media handles? If you're a trouble for Nigeria, they don't want you in the other country. If you're a troublemaker here, you don't see anything good in your country, they don't want you there. Because they can see, if this is what you're doing in Nigeria, no, Mbano, stay here and fix your Nigeria. That's why as you are filling your forms for American embassy or for some other embassies, you are filling your social media handles. Why? You've created a digital footprint. You know that the current minister of digital, is he digital innovation, Botun Tijani, I've forgotten what the name of the ministry is. You know that almost got him into trouble, right? Because he appeared in front of the senators for screening. And the first thing they raised against him was that you said this on social media. And he had to apologize for that. I mean, he's fortunate that he was able to apologize and that worked out for him. But there are several other people who would not be able to apologize their way out of the situation. You've said it, forget it, that's it. You are in trouble already. Be careful. For when I go on social media, some of you, every matter that happens in your bedroom is on social media. The craziest one is get ready with me. Even Christians are doing get ready with me naked on social media. Even Christians. Sister Laura. Don't let me use names that are likely to be common. Sister Laura. Sister Felicia. Brother Johannesburg. Brother Godfrey. Brother God sent. You even bear godly names. Sister Mary. Sister Matthias. Brother Theophilus. Brother John, Brother Matthew. Is heavier on the sister side. You now do get ready with me. We will now see things that are supposed to be conserved for either the man that is to be marrying you or the one that has already married you. You now show us the full size of the pumps and then you even carry it with your hand so that we can see it very well. And then you now also show your back. So that you can show that you are in that area, you have a competitive advantage over the other sisters that they've been crushing on. Come on. Come on. Then something accidentally slips and it goes beyond what you planned. And you say they are blackmailing you. Did you not blackmail yourself? Who set up the ring light? Who put up the phone there? Who turned on the light? You now be dressing up. I mean, I can't even fathom it. Somebody starts dressing just with pants and bras in front of the whole world. I hope you know that when you put something on the internet, it never goes away. Even when you think you deleted it from your account, so before you delete it, somebody else has downloaded it. That's it, it's up there forever. One day, some of you will now become pastors. You now say they are blackmailing you. You are standing on this. Or even if you don't become pastor, since we're talking about nation building, you now want to become a governor. Or you now become first lady of a state. You marry a man who becomes the governor of a state. Or you marry a man who becomes the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And say, no, Mrs. Matthias, with that. We don't hammer. You don't remember that time when that guy, where should they do get ready with me on social media? And she was also showing everything. I don't care. I'm just me. I don't care what you think. Come on. Your digital footprint tells us what the value of a nation is. What's the digital footprint of China? How many of you know? What's the digital footprint of China? Most times when you see things they are posting from China is innovation, technology. You see the things coming out of China. You just think of China as a nation that has innovation, and that's the only thing they worry about. You people think they don't commit adultery in China? You think they don't fornicate in China? But guess what? What's the most important thing you see about China on the internet? Technology. Innovation, artificial intelligence, so much so that you see little children that are going to school that are put in coding classes, and because of that, some people will come back home and condemn our own young people in churches as if we don't have coding classes in Nigeria. So it's very important because that's the most powerful tool that as young people, that's the most powerful tool that we have, the digital footprint. And those who have never been to Nigeria before, what's the first place they will go to go and check what's happening in Nigeria? The internet. So you want to contribute to nation building, contribute to changing the content about this country on the internet. If you don't change the content, you can limit foreign direct investment in this country. When you amplify violence And many of you don't even realize how important it is when you amplify violence, when you amplify sex, when you amplify nudity, when you amplify promiscuity, when you amplify nonchalance, and all of those things above the fact that we have schools like Lagos Business School, we have schools like Covenant University, we have the Redeemers University, we have several universities in this country that are making waves on the continent. And of course, we assemble cars in Nigeria. And now in Lagos, not just in Nnewi. You're not talking about those things that we're doing. You're also not talking about the fact that one of the best designers in the world, I think for Mercedes or for BMW, is a Nigerian. You're not talking about the fact that the greatest, arguably the greatest mathematician on earth right now, coming up with the solution, the equations, the formations for so many formulas that Americans are using, is a Nigerian in the name of Philip Emeagwali, designing the fastest computer in the world. There's also a Nigerian, Professor Ndubisi Ekekwe, Ndubisi, I've forgotten his last name now. But this guy has something that he designed as an engineering student, and guess what? The United States government bought the patent from him and pays him for life. For life. The United States government will continue to pay him. He's a Nigerian professor. A Nigerian professor. Currently a special advisor to Governor Alex Oti. How many of you even know that? There's a university in Rwanda. The vice chancellor, the deputy vice chancellor of that university in Nigeria is a Nigerian lady by the name Ogechi Adeola, Igbo lady, married to a Yoruba person. But she used to be a professor in Lagos Business School. They came all the way to Nigeria to come and pick her and say, come and be deputy vice chancellor in Rwanda. So let's change the digital footprint. You want to build this nation? Change the digital footprints. The United States is constantly making you believe that America is a place to come to. Do you get it? UK is constantly making you believe that the UK is a place to come to. Can I tell you what they are doing in the UK? How many of you noticed that, for example, they open the portal for immigration, they tell you come for care jobs and stuff like that. After a while, they shut it down. You think they don't know what they are doing? They don't have people to take care of all their old people. So when they recruit a number of people into the system and they have given out enough jobs in all the care homes, they shut the portal and say no more recruitment. Then they come up with a policy and say, no, we are outstretching. You just see them debating certain things in the parliament. Once they start that debate, just know that they're going to shut it. No more care, no more traveling, no more immigration on the care route again. Then they wait a few years. All those ones that, first of all, batch A that went for Jackpot batch A, that went to go and take care of people. Once those ones have transitioned, once they have entered the system very well, maybe they decided to return to Nigeria, or they found their roots into other countries or into other jobs, they now realize that, they have gaps in the system. Next thing they will say is, care, there are now jobs for care people again, or caregivers again. They say, you can come with your family. Once the system is filling up again, they say, no, you can't come with your family again. They know what they are doing. The system is not about you. The system is using you to help their system. That's what is happening. But we sit here, mess up our own country, do everything against us. Do you know how many countries can you walk in and not pay up to 50% tax? How many countries can you walk in and not pay up to 50% tax? Nigeria is one of the few countries in the world where, I hope you know, most of us don't pay tax. I hope you know. And even when you work for the government and they deduct from source, what they still deduct from source is still how much? It's less than 10%. So what we contribute, before we even open our mouth to blame the government, yes, I know some people stealing the money. Yes, some people are stealing the money. But the truth is that this country is still poor because there is a very poor collection system for tax. And many people get away with it unpunished. So 5 things that I said changes a nation. What's the number 1? Number 2? Number 3? Number 4? And number 5? So those are the 5 critical things that will change a nation, form the opinion of how a nation is seen. But I don't want to spend too much. How much time do I have left? Okay, let me just quickly rush through this. Number 1, let me talk more about your role. how to play your role. I've talked about those 5 things that will change the nation. But for you to fit into any of those 5 things, number one, you must have a vision. Nobody contributes to nation building without a vision. Nobody contributes to nation building without a vision. Even in the Bible, we see that Moses received a vision from God about leading the children of Israel out of Egypt. So a vision is critical to executing or to nation building. There has to be a vision. We also saw Nehemiah. Nehemiah had the vision of rebuilding the broken down walls of Israel. There has to be a vision. Number 2 is strategic execution of the vision. You can't only have a vision and not have a plan to execute it. So there has to be a strategic execution of the vision. You must come up with a plan. And that's one thing that helped Nehemiah. Nehemiah didn't only have the vision to rebuild the walls. He went, he investigated, he checked out what it's going to cost him to build it, how he's going to build it. What was the strategic thing that he did? He went to the king. He found favor in the eyes of the king and got the utmost permission that nobody can resist or change from the king. And still trained people to fight, such that it got to a point they were building with one hand, but they had swords in another hand. So they were ready to fight, but they were still building. One of the problems some people face is that sometimes they just keep building, they don't prepare for war. Sometimes they just keep fighting and they have no time to build. But Nehemiah said, no, we have to strike a balance. As you're building, be ready to fight. As you're building, be ready to fight. The fight is not because we want to fight. The fight is because we want to protect what we're building. So there has to be a strategic execution. Number 3, influence and wisdom in governance. Influence and wisdom in governance. You see, you cannot, as a Christian, say that you have no business with politics. You have no business with this. You have no business with that. How many of you have seen the movie called Blacklist? A series on Netflix. How many of you have seen it? Blacklist. Only a few people. Wow. The guy is a bad guy. You know when they say, that meme that is currently raining on the internet, they say you're a bad boy. Raymond Reddington is a bad man. Very bad man. But there's something I still learned from this guy. The influence that he has built across cadres up until the highest office in the United States, such that anything wants to happen, he knows how to negotiate his way up until the desk of the President of the United States. There are only a few Christians in this world that the president of a nation will want to do something, and you can strategically threaten the president. If you do it, your second term is gone, and the president changes his mind. There are only a few presidents in the world. There are only a few Christians in the world that can walk up to the president and say, if you do this thing, I'll tell all my people we are not voting for you. And not only are we not choosing to not vote for you, I'm also taking my business out of this country. You and I know that we can count on on just one hand. We can count on one hand the number of people in this country that would threaten to walk out of Nigeria with their businesses. And we know that Nigeria is almost as good as folded up. You know, right? But how many Christians can really just wake up? So you need influence even in governance, either by participating or building strategic alliances or even sponsoring to be part of them. We must sponsor people into politics. So I hope you know. We must sponsor people into politics. People with integrity, people who have a rare mindset, people who are thinking differently, people who understand how the law works. Anybody who speaks and understands how the law works, we need to send people like that into the legislative arm of government. There are some problems we are facing in this country. The solution is not more money. The solution is legislation. For example, how long will it take us to have a new constitution? We have a sovereign national conference. Things have been suggested. All we need is people in the National Assembly saying, okay, this is how we're going to do it, this is how we're going to sit over it consistently. But how many right-thinking lawyers do we even have in the National Assembly? So we need to sponsor people there. Sponsor some ambassadors into different nations of the world. We need to do that. And some of you need to get there yourself. You know you have what it takes in you. Take, for example, some of you, we know that because you are born again, and I hope that when you get into governance, I hope that you will not lose your salvation. Some of you, we know that instead of buying a brand new car, we know that you will take that money and feed everybody in the community. Or we know that you build a tech innovation hub in your community. We know that some of you, instead of, taking all those money, stealing all that money, we know that some of you will build something that 100 years later will still be in the community. But if you don't get there, who will do it? So we can't continue to wait and hope that people will do it. Then, number 4, intercession for the nation. We do this a lot. Intercession, we do this a lot. But we can never get to the point where it is enough. We can never get to that point where it is enough. Don't believe those people who say Nigeria, we pray too much. We don't pray enough. We don't pray enough. Guess what? If people think that we pray too much and this nation is still standing, what do you think is sustaining this nation? You think it's just strategy, wisdom, and intelligence that is sustaining this nation? Don't deceive yourself. You heard some of those prophecies that came out before the 2023 elections. You think that some of them were fake because they didn't happen? You think they were fake because they didn't happen? Trust me, there are people who are praying, and some of those things did not happen because people are praying. Those things didn't happen because they were, at least some of them, they didn't happen not because they were fake. They didn't happen because people are praying. And there's something you must understand about prophecy. Sometimes when God reveals certain things, it's not because God really wants it to happen. It's because God is exposing the plans of the enemy. It is not every prophecy that is the plan of God, which is why you must understand that it is not every prophecy that must come to pass. Some prophecies are expositions on the plans of the enemy, and some prophecies are expositions on the plans of God. It is the exposition on the plans of God that must come to pass. But when it is an exposition on the plans of the enemy, what do we do about it? So the fact that some of those things didn't happen didn't mean that it's not going to happen. The little protest we had just last month, that little protest, I hope you know how many people died. Particularly in the north, I hope you know people died. As soon as that protest was about to begin, people started praying again. Do you know that there are things that are not as serious as what has happened in Nigeria that has thrown nations into turmoil? What do you think is eating up the Middle East? You think the problem they're having in the Middle East is as serious as what is happening in Nigeria? Ukraine, Russia, it's simply about a space they are fighting for. It's about space. Nigeria was fighting over a space, Bakassi. Didn't we? By the end of the day, willingly, effortlessly, we gave it up. Nothing happened. Everybody, Cameroon went their own way, we went our own way. And we are standing as a nation. So don't underrate or don't underestimate the influence of prayer. Intercession for the nation. Then, personal integrity is very important. Personal integrity and faithfulness is very, very important. We must pay attention to the fact that there are things that will not happen until we exhibit some level, some form of personal integrity. Then, let me just end with this final one. Empower other people. Empower other people. There are things that you may not be able to do. You may be the mother-in-law of Ruth. She is not the one to get to Boaz, but she knows how to get to Boaz. You may be the Eli who knows that he is not the next prophet, but he knows how God speaks and can help the next prophet connect to God. You may be the next Daniel who can tell the king, this is the hand of God. The signs are all over the place, but you cannot see this is the hand of God. You may be the next Joseph. And one of the things you will notice is that some of you look at the things that are happening in your life right now, you will see that it's practically relatable when you look at the life of Joseph. Some of you, yours is practically relatable when you look at the life of Daniel. You know that you were taken as a slave. Not that you were physically taken as a slave, but your experiences feel like being taken as a slave. It's just that your kingdom has not come, or the kings that need your counsel have not arrived yet. But you see, sometimes if you keep looking for kings, you will miss them. The person sitting next to you is that king. Start advising them. How did David get the recommendation to the palace when Saul needed somebody to help him with his evil spirit? David was playing his harp in the bush where he didn't think that anybody saw him, where he wasn't playing for recommendation. But when recommendation was needed, do you know that till date we don't know who recommended him? The person simply said to the king, there is a man in the house of Jesse. They simply told us a certain man. To date, we don't know who recommended him. But did he get what he needed or not? Why? Because he wasn't waiting for the day the king will show up before he started playing. He started playing, and somebody who knew the king was already seeing him. If you walk with that mindset, let me assure you, there are people who are already seeing you who know the kings that need you. There are people around you who know the kings that need you. There are people around you who already hold the keys to the doors that you need. But you are waiting for the king. They are also waiting for the person who carries the solutions they are waiting for. So exhibit what you have first. You say, yeah, they are not coming. Keep exhibiting. And sometimes Christians are quick to give up. Christians are quick to give up. You know, when we quote the story of Abraham, you know we quote it easily, right? How long did Abraham wait again? 25 years. Some of you will say, I'm 30 years old now. Hey, in fact, if man does not come, I will kill myself. Some of you will say, can you imagine? I'm now 40 years old. I never hammer. Me, where I don't think, or in fact, I already planned that I'm going to make a lot of money when I was 25, when I was 30. Now I'm 40 years old. I've not made the money. Have you remembered, or have you forgotten that we keep talking about Abraham who waited 25 years? 25 years to have one child. Had all the money in the world, didn't lack anything, was raising 318 armed soldiers in his house, but waited 25 years to have one child. I hope you know that Isaac also waited. So it's very important that we take care of things like that. Don't give up. Do your bits. Again, let's talk about those 5 things that I said build the nation. Number 1 is what? The brand. Number 2 is what? Productivity. Number 3, innovation. Number 4, people. Number 5, digital footprints. I pray that as we do these things consciously, you will see that you are actually a part of the nation building. But more importantly, as the younger generation, we are stronger on the digital footprint. We do it every day, consciously or unconsciously. Let's do better from today, and God will help us in Jesus' name. So I was told to leave room for question and answers.